Welcome today. I was caught unawares. I'm having problems with my this whatever that there is, Andrew. It's catching on my. Never mind. I will survive. We are so glad to see you today. Thank goodness this is just a warm up for the actual show that starts. We have got a fabulous guest today. Now listen to me. If you love your pastor, and as we were listening to the music to the intro, Andrew said to me, he says, "This is the fourth program in a row we've done on revival." And I didn't realize it, and it's true. And I believe that God is trying to get a message to us that there's a revival in the wings waiting to come in to blow across this country. I'm telling you now, unless America gets a revival, we're in trouble. The stuff you're watching on the news at this moment is indicators of a society in collapse. I don't know if you noticed, one of the South American leaders of a country said, "America, never ever lecture us about democracy again. Don't ever lecture us about democracy, because the party that's in power has just arrested and charged the leader of the other party and put him in court and is now in the legal system." He says, "Don't tell us about American democracy." If we lose that clarity, that moral clarity in the world, I'm telling you now, we are finished as a country. We're only as good as our laws. We're only as good as what we represent. And this nation is either going to have a revival or a civil war. That's the two things that's going to happen in this nation. Because there are enough people in this country, tens of millions of people, that will say, "You're not taking this country. We will defend it if we have to." And that's what's happening. The only other alternative is a divine move of the Holy Ghost, that God rises up in the church and creates revival. And I've got a dear friend today, Pastor Don Gibson, pastors a fabulous church. We're there every year, and it is one of the most generous churches and one of the most vision-filled churches because of this man's leadership. Mercy Gate Church in Mount Bellevue, Texas. And he has written a new book that I think you have got to get. Now listen, if you love your pastor, contact him right now to watch the program that's coming up in a couple of minutes. Call him and say, "Listen, there's a pastor from Texas about to be talking about revival, and there's a new book." I suggest to you that you order these books. It's number one in its genre in Amazon. It's number one right now, trending number one. This book is a handbook on prayer and revival. And you need to have it in your church. I'd love to see pastors buy a box of them and hand them out to their folks to make it a Wednesday night Bible study, or these whatever best application you have. So we have Don Gibson with us today. Hit the share button if you're watching us on FaceTime or the other social platforms that we're on. And by doing so, you're helping us. Every Monday night, we are seen across the nation on CTN. If you go DirecTV, it's channel 376. Dish TV is channel 262. And Glorieside TV is channel 117. We're also seen on a number of other networks. The great TCT, which is one of the great networks of this country. Dear friend of mine, Garth Kuntz, and his dear family are now running this ministry. He just passed away just a few weeks ago, and I still can't believe he's gone. The world's an emptier place, quieter place. Integrity Network is a new network. Integrity Network. Dale Hill, he was the original fella. I knew when he was a kid. We were both kids in those days. But he is a young guy, just out of high school, put together the PTL network that covered the world. And he's just recently built Ken Copeland's network called Victory, and he started his own network called Integrity. So if ever you see Integrity Television, get there. And also, we're also seen on the Journey Network all through the day. So whatever you're watching us at right now, I'm glad you are here. Today is an important program that God is going to speak to you about the process. Let me tell you something. God upholds everything in the universe by the word of his power. His power holds all of the universe, flying and spinning in different places. Billions and trillions of stars is maintained by order that he sets in place. Revival comes the same way. When you fulfill certain things, God's going to hear from heaven and heal our land. That's the promise. That's the word. And we're going to give you a tool in your hand today that I believe is going to help you see revival in your own life. and in the church's life that you go to. So we love you. We can't wait to have this program. We're glad you're with us. Welcome to Daily Faith. Hey, my friend, welcome to Daily Faith. My name is Philip Cameron, and I am delighted to have you with us. Daily Faith is a place you can come every day and have a measure of faith, someone that will believe God with you for whatever you have in your life. Faith comes by hearing, and we hope to bring you, and God allows us to bring some of the most anointed men and women in the country on the cusp of what God is doing today. And today is no different. We have a pastor that has written a new book that I know is important for you and your life. If you love your pastor, I want you to contact him right now. Call him right now and say, watch Daily Faith. Just go to dailyfaith.tv and he'll catch us live right now. As you see this, we're doing this live. And this book on prayer and revival is going to, I believe, open your eyes to see the possibilities of a mighty outpouring of the Holy Ghost. I said at the introduction of like a pre-show that we do, that this country is in trouble. America is in desperate trouble. And unless we get God back on his throne, we are in trouble. And we're going to talk about more later on. An update from our work in Moldova. As you know, for those that don't know, we have a ministry that has a village of homes called Vatra Village in Moldova. Moldova is the poorest country in Europe. Trafficking is one of the major industries of that country. Young girls are sold 30 to 50 times a day. And one girl for a captor can make $300,000 a year. And we have an incredible place called Vatra Village. And we've built this village over the last number of years. And they come to us, and instead of being put on the street, we put them back in school. And we tell them, if you're born, God has a plan for your life. And the crazy thing is that these kids are turning from orphans to sons and daughters to missionaries. This last year, they have been flat out, non-stop, caring for the refugees of Ukraine. About 800,000 came to Moldova, and our kids are out preparing food for them, loving them. We've given away thousands of blankets and thousands of coats. In fact, we gave away 15,000 coats in the last couple of months. And those blankets, those big blankets, we had them made specially, that a mom who's lost her home, sitting in a great big industrial building as a refugee center, can wrap her kids around with a blanket. And we also went up to Ukraine and brought these beautiful stoves, wood-burning stoves, to help them stay alive in the wintertime. We are feeding, as we speak, thousands of people. My son Andrew came back from there the other day, and he was amazed to be able to feed 1,000 folk came on a Thursday afternoon. He's also just come back from Turkey, where we've been there helping in the earthquake. You have no idea the disaster that is taking place as we speak in Turkey. 50,000 people have died, and they've only excavated 20% of all the buildings. 50,000 people have been flattened by these concrete buildings, and the need is dire in that country. We had a call from the pastor there the other day that we helped. There's one of our vans in the earthquake zone. We gave away family tents that holds 6 to 8 people, and they're all full, and they're saying, please give us more. And we supplied 40-pound boxes of food that can keep a family going for a week. In our van, we moved our van from Moldova down to Turkey, and they just are running back and forth with more supplies. So your care and your help and your support for this ministry makes this possible. And so I just got a video the other day that really blessed my heart. All these big things are going on, and a widow contacted us. And she says, I'm living in a mud and dung hut, a house made of mud and dung, and I've no food and I've got no heat. Can you help us? And these kids, these orphans, in a couple of days, transformed our house. And they just sent me this video. Watch this.
Rodica, the widow who lived in a house with walls and floors made from mud and dung, with the glass in the doors broken, and the frigid air that has no mercy for her young family. Existing there along with 4 kids whose future was being robbed every day by the awful grind of poverty. The orphan's hands is fighting bigger battles than what Rodica faced individually. We continue to bring aid to the untold thousands of refugee families in Ukraine and those who are stranded in Moldova. Our plate is full, but when her plight was brought to us, we could not ignore her need and say we couldn't help. We know we must do something to alleviate the suffering of Rodica and her 4 precious kids. In the past, we have repaired homes where families suffer by what we call a miraculous makeover. We decided to do the same for this broken family. It is a privilege to be part of such a miracle. Hands-on, our young men and women from Vatra village worked hard to give Rodica and her family a place they can now call home. They got to let her know that she is loved by God and His people. We repaired her broken walls, filled the broken windows with new glass, and in only a few days, transformed her despair into joy. New beds, tables, chairs, rugs, a new sofa. We were able to bless them because you care and giving made it possible. We know God's heart will be moved by your sacrifice. We love your heart for others. Thank you.
Isn't that amazing? A bunch of orphan kids redeemed by grace, now going out and helping a widow with 4 kids. What they didn't talk about in that video, all the videos we receive and show you, they make. We don't tell them what to make. Our kids make those videos, their cameras, they go out and do it and send us, and as you see it. And they didn't show you because it's common to them. They tore down one of the walls in this house and rebuilt a fireplace that heats up. So you put the fire, you set the fire in the middle of this wall, and all the bricks go warm. The whole thing becomes a radiator. That's how they heat their homes. And she didn't have that, and they built this fabulous fireplace that keeps the whole house warm in the coldest of days. So that's the kind of miracles we're doing every day with help from you. $1 a day allows us to sponsor these kids at Vatra Village. $1 a day won't change your world financially all that much, but I promise you it's changing those boys and girls who otherwise would either be slave labor for traffickers or sex workers for traffickers. Your giving allows us to take more kids in. As I speak right now, Maria, our house parent in Odessa, all of our girls at this moment are out of Odessa and in Moldova. She is in Odessa, in Ukraine right now, because a bunch of girls had said, look, we are by ourselves, we don't know what to do, we don't know where to go, and we're opening our doors for even more kids. And all we need is more of you saying, I'll be a part of it. You can help us today by giving a gift to the Orphan's Hands, P.O. Box 25, Clinton, Tennessee 37716. P.O. Box 25, so simple. And you can also go to dailyfaith.tv. There's a giving page there. And please allow the Lord to speak to you. If you want to help in Turkey on the earthquake victims, just write Turkey. If you want to help Ukraine refugees, just write Ukraine. If you want to help constant care It's what we call the ministry we have, feeding all these people that are destitute in Moldova. So let the Lord speak to your heart, be part of a miracle, and I believe God will bless you for it. I am absolutely delighted and honored to have a great man of God. I've been traveling in this country in churches for 53, coming up to 54 years. In fact, March, it was 54 years. And once in a while, you meet a church and you meet a people and a pastor. The church is a reflection of the man of God. And this is a man of God that has purpose in his ministry. And he's just written a book, and I saw it the other day. It was drawn to my attention, and I said to Andrew, I says, we have got to get Donald Gibson on our program. Now, the fact that his name is Donald Gibson is a Scottish front. My middle name is Donald, so I love him for that all by itself. He doesn't talk properly. He's a Texan kind of guy. So, but apart from that, he's a fabulous man of God. And he's my friend. Don, thank you so much for being on Daily Faith today. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. So good to be with you today.
I'm excited about this new book. You seem to have the heartbeat and the drumbeat of God. I love the word cadence. Cadence is how soldiers march, and you watch them and they march and they get in a beat, a cadence. When it's Scottish guys with kilts and you watch how the kilts sway with a cadence. And I believe there's a season and a cadence of heaven that you can get into, and I believe that you've caught that in this brand new book. Tell us the name of it, and we're going to have a picture up, and I want pastors to watch me. Listen to what I'm saying. You need to get this book in your church, and you need to buy bunches of them for your people, because it can transform your church in prayer. This is a proven thing that this Pastor Don has done. Tell us in the book and what caused you to write it.
Well, the title of the book is CPR for the Church, Culture, Prayer, Revival. And I wrote the book out of just our journey. I've been pastoring where I'm at now for 15 years. And so through this journey, God just began to give me a download of how to put a system together to mobilize the church in prayer. You said something earlier that, America needs a revival. Well, I believe that revival is going to come as people begin to pray.
Yes.
And what we've done over the last many years is we either have believed a lie or not changed our systems. And talking to pastors, leaders, people in the congregations, they told me, they're like, Pastor Don, our people don't pray anymore. People in the church don't pray anymore. But the truth of the matter is, I have found and I have discovered people not only pray, they want to pray. But
Sure.
we've not given them a vehicle, a tool, a system. Neither have we equipped them in how to pray for the church, how to pray for the lost, and how to pray for our leaders. And so this book is just a journey on how God began to reveal this to me through other people, through our own journey, through our own trial, our own errors. And it was birthed in love. I've run it as a test pilot in 7 different types of churches, not just one denomination or one expression of Christianity, but
So
in
it
7
worked across the
different.
board. It worked across
It
all
works across the
denominations.
board. Yes,
That's
sir.
amazing.
It works across all denominations, all ethnicities. It's to me, I use this phrase a lot. The Word of God will work if we work it. And I believe that the resources and the tools in this book, they will work if you will work them.
Yes.
And so, and what we've done is we really just took the model that Jesus gave us when he said, go and tell, instead of saying, come and see. What we did with prayer was we put systems together, things together to say, what we want you to do is go and pray, or in your going, we want you to pray instead of come and gather and pray.
Wow.
And recently I was reading some statistics in Barna, and it said that 98% of those who pray do not pray with somebody else. So only 2% gather to pray.
Gather. And we're told
Yeah,
clearly, whether as any two agree, it shall be done. So
yeah,
we lose that efficiency right there.
we do. But what happened is like, and I can tell you with me, the Lord began to speak to me and said, I want you to get 12 people to pray. And so I did. I got 12 people. I asked them to begin to pray, and they were praying faithfully. And after I got back with them and I said, talk to me about your prayer time. How are you praying? What? And they're like, Pastor John, we're praying daily. And I said, okay, what are we praying for? Well, we're praying for our families, for our grandkids, for our finances, our jobs. And I'm like, okay, all of that's great. All that's fantastic, but that's not what I intended. But that wasn't their fault. So whenever I asked them, I said, how often are you praying for the lost in our community? How often are you praying for those that are going to attend church this weekend? How often are you praying for me as the pastor to get up and have a word from the Lord? It came down to be about an average of 3 minutes a week. And it wasn't their fault. I didn't talk to them. I didn't teach them. I didn't tell them. And so that same report from Barna, it says that 68% of the people who pray for only their needs, primarily their stresses and their meals. So we've taught a generation to pray, but we've not taught them to pray effectively for a move of God. And so therefore we're not seeing a move of God. And we as pastors get frustrated and we draw conclusions and we say people don't want to pray anymore. But the truth is, no, we didn't instruct them. We didn't teach them. We didn't pastor them well. And so as I began to do that and we began to grow, I can tell you right now, before this Easter Sunday coming up, or any Sunday coming up, on a weekly basis, we average about 260 hours of prayer.
That's unbelievable.
Now, we don't all gather. We'll have a group of men that may gather on a Tuesday evening. We may have a group of ladies that gather on every other Friday night, but we have people that are giving at least 10 minutes or 15 minutes a week praying for things that I ask them to pray for.
I mean, the fact that you can articulate and know how much hours of prayer the church is producing, that in and of itself is a rare thing, because I'll promise you 99.9% of churches have no idea how much prayer is ascending to heaven, which is the fundamental culture that we need to develop.
Oh, 100%, it's funny because as we begin to move into this, I'm 3 years in the process, and the Lord speaks to me and says, I want you to hire a prayer pastor. I said, do what? I'm like, yeah, that's going to be an awkward conversation to go to my board with. And hey, I want to designate money to hire a prayer pastor. But I did. They bought into the vision because they were seeing the results. And I now have a prayer pastor. And whenever the Lord spoke to me and I began to have this conversation, I was like, okay, God, I've never seen this anywhere. I don't have a reference point. And this is what the Lord spoke to me. He said, my house will be called a house of prayer. He said, and you facilitate kids ministry, you facilitate youth ministry, facilitate the accounting department. But why don't you facilitate what I said my church would be?
The name. Oh.
And so that's what we did. And it's just exploded exponentially. I'll tell you the best thing I did. When I came to this church, it's a great church, wonderful church, but I never encountered spiritual warfare like I did here. And you know me, my personality is, I'm not prone to discouragement. I'm not prone to depression, anxiety, worry. Those aren't I don't have those issues. I got issues. Those are not them. But for a little over a year and a half here, I would leave every Sunday, no matter how good or how bad the service was, so discouraged, so depressed, wanting to quit. I hated it. And I was flying back from a conference I had spoken at out in California, and the Lord spoke to me and he said, I want you to have 2 people pray for you before every service and after every service. And I said, Lord, I'm supposed to pray for people. People aren't supposed to pray for the pastor. I'm supposed to have the answer. I'm not supposed to be asking the people for the answer. And the Lord spoke to me and he said, my body has become so fractured. I need you to understand interdependence.
Wow.
The hand cannot say to the ear, I don't need you.
Don't need
The
you.
ear cannot say to the foot, I don't need you. We need each other.
Yes.
I implemented that. And I taught them what to pray and how to pray for me. And to this day, we've now been doing that for over 11 years, I guess, maybe 12 years. I have never one time since then gone home discouraged, defeated.
That's amazing.
I've never one time gone home and wanted to quit. I literally, I have so much energy. I could go play 18 holes of golf after church, and we do 2 to 3 services every Sunday.
I know.
Just it changed everything.
Everything.
And every pastor that's implemented this, it literally has changed their outlook for the coming week.
So what you're talking about is changing the culture of the church, basically. It's how people think, how the church is perceived. My house shall be a house of prayer. I just saw that in a new way when you just spoke. I thought, my goodness, we've got every other pastor, every kind of thing. We've got a sound pastor,
Yeah.
and we don't have prayer pastors. That is
Yes.
incredible. Wow.
And it does, it changes the entire outlook. It changes the culture of what we're doing here at the church. And for us, I can just tell you, it's broken out in an incredible move of God. There's not a Sunday that goes by that people aren't saved, that God's not moving. I can tell you this time last year, spontaneously, just on a Sunday morning, we had scheduled where we were going to baptize about 5 people. And we just opened up at the middle of the first service during worship. We just said, hey, if you came today to be baptized, we want you to be baptized. I've never seen this in my life, but 5.5 hours later, we were still baptizing people.
Oh my goodness.
People it was like a party broke out. People were weeping, crying. People were watching on live stream, turned around and came to the church. Other people were watching at home, got dressed.
That's revival.
And called and said, if I get to the church, would they still baptize me? And we're like, absolutely yes.
Absolutely.
And I think it ended up being about 5 hours and 40 minutes we baptized people. And
Hallelujah.
we had water everywhere. It was a mess. I mean, a mess. We're filling the tank, refilling the tank, bailing water out, putting new water in.
Putting in some bleach.
People, brother, it was terrible. People were
Oh, it's amazing.
getting delivered, set free. Marriages were being restored. I can tell you 2 couples that were on their way to divorce. They had drawn up the papers, and both of them found themselves in baptismal waters, weeping and crying, calling out to God, and God has restored them. And it was all because of I believe, a buildup of prayer.
A culture.
It
becomes part of the fiber. Yeah.
Prayer.
There are pastors watching just now that are thinking, "Oh my Lord," because I know my Holy Ghost radar is excited by what you're saying. I know there are pastors watching. We've got 2.5 minutes left. How can we get this book into these pastors' hands? This is not just for you, pastor. This is to seed out through the whole church. If you do it by yourself, you'll stand alone. If you get in the church involved, this could be the prayer move that you're looking for. Tell us how we can get the name of the book and how we can get it done.
It's CPR for the church, culture, prayer, Revival. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it from DonaldGibsonMinistries.com. You can get it at Barnes and Noble. There is a workbook that comes with it. You can make yourself available to that. I would highly, highly encourage every pastor to get it, every person that you want to be a prayer leader, or if you have a prayer director, get it. I can tell you right now, I have several churches across Ohio, across Florida, Missouri, Arkansas, that they have implemented it into their church culture. And they're saying, Pastor Don, we're already seeing a change in our people.
Wow.
The heat of prayer in our church is going to another level.
Hallelujah.
And we really feel like we are equipping our people how to pray, not just to pray. And that's really my goal in writing the book was, if I can get this resource into people's hands and they can see a move of God in their context, in their region, their environment, then that's what I'm after. And that's what we're seeing. And I'm excited about it. I'm really thrilled about what God's doing.
I want every pastor that's watching me, if you love your pastor, listen to me. Buy this book for him. Seed this gift into his life. Because most pastors are like Don was before the revelation. You don't get it until you get it. Go to Amazon. If you get it from Amazon, leave a review, because that's how they judge the book as far as in its popularity. Important to do so. We've got 28 seconds left. Thank you, Don, for being with us today. I love you, my friend. I believe this is an important book. If you're anywhere near Mount Bellevue, you need to go to Mercy Gate Church. It is the coolest, most anointed place I believe I've been in. And we just love the part they are in our lives. Don, thank you again for being with us. We can't wait to see you in July. God bless you, my friend.